It was good. Was it live? It's live on YouTube or where is it? YouTube, right?
Yeah, we're actually live now. We're live on YouTube. So um, your viewers and those your constituents and those who you may want to view it, they could go on to that link that I sent you earlier. And since we are live, let me begin by letting everyone know. Welcome to 12 another... years ago to the date.
My bad.
Began by letting everyone
know. Okay, I see this
12 years
ago. Let me mute it. My bad.
No, it's all good. It's all good. And for my viewers, y'all know how we get down. Y'all know how we started. Welcome to another Tuesday, another week of Do the Knowledge Radio with the Not Abba Dream Team Zone, the incomparable Red Fidel. I am the National Chief Strategist for New Order National Human Rights Organization under the awesome leadership of Gerald Emerson Rose, who I give a strong and solid salute to, as usual. And today we have a very special guest, someone definitely upon researching and just checking out her body of work and everything that she has laid thus far for the liberation and the freedom of our people, I must say that I'm very, very excited about this particular guest and this interview. And I only want to call it an interview. I just want to say this honest and open freedom fighter dialogue that I wish to, have and partake with my sister. So without further ado, I'll let her introduce herself and what she represents. And there you go. I turn it over to Mrs. Fant.
All right, my name is Traci Fant. I'm organizer of Freedom Fighters Upstate South Carolina, a community-based volunteer organization that consists of many people who just want to promote accountability, peace, unity for all people, and for the rights of people in our community. We are the voice for the voiceless. We take pride in that. So.
For sure. Let me ask you, are you originally from Greenville?
No, I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, born and raised.
Okay. What brought you to South Carolina?
We came here around 1986, 87 after my brother was murdered. That's not why we moved here, but that was one of the reasons why my dad and my mom decided it'd probably be, best for us to relocate to somewhere where they considered a safer environment,
right,
and a better environment. So, we migrated here and, sort of went back and forth, but, definitely made this my home. And around 98, we made it our home where my brother and sister and other people moved here as well.
Okay. Sorry to hear about your brother who's taken away from you. I lost a young brother as well, so I know the pain of that and how that may feel. How old were you when you all moved? How old were you?
I was about maybe 16, 17. So it was years ago. Yeah. Many moons ago.
Yeah, so your formidable were in Detroit.
Huh?
Your formidable years were in Detroit. Like you really.
Oh yeah, definitely. Most definitely. Oh yeah.
I think by you saying that now, that kind of like to me it now delineates your demeanor to me. When I was just talking to you the other day when I called you, I think it was yesterday, and we spoke on the phone briefly just to acquaint ourselves, and looking at you and some of the videos that was so there's a sense of calmness that kind of clothes you. You know what I'm saying? Like you wear this calmness on you that I find to be like one of that's indicative of a leader. Like I think that a lot of people appoint themselves as leaders. Some people just have that thing that makes them a leader. And I'll say that just watching you and listening to you, you have a factor about you that's one admirable and one that needs to be protected at the same time. So I'm glad that in your organization, I heard you speak one time of your security and whatnot, because someone like you definitely needs to be protected. So I salute you for that.
Well, I definitely appreciate that. Malcolm X said that, of course, you already know that Black women, are the most unprotected people in society. And I find that to be true, especially in my role as a leader. A lot of times you're targeted not only by men, not only by women, but also by men. And I thought that was sort of odd that, men would attack a Black female leader who, definitely represents all people. And a lot of times it's not even people who don't look like us. A lot of times it's my own brothers, you know what I'm
That's right.
saying, who may come for me. And so, yeah, I truly, realized very early on the need to have security and people around me who had my best interest and safety at heart at all times.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And that's one of the things that for me as a youth, it attracted me to the NOI because not only was I attracted to the you still there?
Yeah, I couldn't hear you. You said not only were you attracted to.
My phone rang for a minute. But not only was I attracted to like the message, it was also the presence. When you seen the brothers out there, just kind of like in military fashion, you know what I'm saying? The way they
Right.
just, it was like, you know, we it's one thing to speak of a nation, but no nation
Hmm.
is a nation without its own security, without its own military, without its own resources that actually
Right.
separate it and make it that empower that nation. And not you to be a nation, one has to be able to protect its well-being and its resources, all that's within that nation. So that was one of the things that attracted me to the NOI just as a youth, just watching them. I always used to say like, wow, I like what they represented. And I remember seeing that Malcolm, and that part is so famous. You remember when Malcolm
Hmm.
went down to the police station, and
Oh yeah.
he told the brothers, and he did his little sign, and he told the brothers, let's march. And what the white cop said, the cop said, that's too much power for one black man.
For one
That
black
part,
man, that's right.
man, man, that part right there was so impactful and so
Right.
memorable. But it showed the power of unification on a
Hmm.
on a front that that hasn't been upheld or seen in generations now, in
That's
generations,
true.
in this generation. So, and I think by saying that, I guess my question to you would be, do you think we can ever get to a place where we can have that type of unification to where it would actually be that impactful, that positively dangerous? And I know that's kind of like a play on words and an oxymoron at the same time, but
Right.
I think you know what I mean when I say that. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think that it's going to take people putting all egos to the side and basically recognizing, knowing their position, knowing their lane. We can definitely become those people, the people that can make that type of impact, and also, the resurface of unity in that fashion. I truly believe that we can one day, hopefully, commit to doing that. But as I said, everybody needs to know their role and their position and be okay with that. Everybody can't be the leader. Everybody's not going to be a follower either. But people need to understand that just like with Malcolm and Martin and so many others, they led their own way. People understood and recognized them as leaders and respected them as so. And the people who were selected or chosen to be around them understood the mission and the vision as well. And that's another key factor in it. The people who are around us need to understand what we're doing and how we're moving to include others who feel the same way. The Freedom Fighters, I couldn't have a leadership team that didn't understand the vision, didn't understand the mission. You know, um, and at first, the team started off very big, very large. But then, not by my own selection, but I guess God removed some people, and replaced them with others who said, you know what? I like the mission. I like the ministry. I love the cause. I want to get involved. But not only that, I respect Traci as the leader, and she's going to respect my decisions, but the ultimate decision is hers. And so when we understand that we need to learn how to agree to disagree, but respect the authority of the leader, and everybody just basically fall in line with whoever is selected to be that leader, yeah, true, we can do that. We can do that. I mean,
Yeah,
Malcolm was a very, very powerful man, and everybody recognized that. And that's what led to his assassination, just like with Dr. King, and so many others. So,
yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. I mean, speaking of which, listening to you say that, you made me think of another point. Uh, being a leader, and preferably being a black female leader, have you had pushback from black males in the
Yes.
struggle who may have a problem adhering,
Hmm.
and I will say submitting to the leadership of a black woman?
Yes, definitely. In South Carolina? Oh yeah, definitely. In
Yeah,
Detroit, New York, New
I
Jersey,
could imagine.
Chicago. Sorry, what'd you say?
Yeah, I could imagine. I could imagine.
Oh yeah. Well, in the up and in the northern states, that's what I was gonna say. Female leaders are much better, well recepted. I put it like that, or accepted, versus here in the South, where I not only do I deal with racism, I deal with sexism, I deal with chauvinism, and all those other isms, and so that makes it difficult at times. But you know, I have to remind myself that this isn't a self-titled position. I didn't give myself the title of a leader. I like to say that I was born a leader, and I was molded into being a leader. And at a very young age, I had my father, I had 9 brothers, I had all uncles, a lot of male cousins. No one ever told me I couldn't do something because I was a female. In fact, my dad would always say, "Do it, but be the best at it. Don't get out there and embarrass me. Whatever you decide to do it and be the best at it." And so I was never told I couldn't do something because I was a female. I could play basketball, I could do ballet, whichever one it was I decided to do. I was never told I couldn't. I was always pushed to be the best I could be, regardless. And so I think that when we go out into the world, and not only do young African American females see me, but all females see me as a leader, that empowers them as well. And it also should let men know who are girl dads that your daughter can also be a leader. So let's continue to push women to the forefront. Let's continue to include them in the narrative, because regardless of whether we're included or not, we're here. And we've been here since Harriet Tubman led the slaves through the Underground Railroad. We've been here since the Egyptians built the pyramids. You feel me? Women have always been leaders. It's nothing new. So
I truly I hold true to that as well, and I believe that as well, and I'm glad to see that you are a strong woman that's actually in the forefront, so people can get a glimpse and get a real sight of that, because not only do you represent that well, you represent it naturally, and women do need to step up and not just be objects of desire, but be
right,
objects of change, and objects of transformation at the same time. Because I really feel that the feminine energy is the energy that can really change everything. Because it's a balance that is needed. This patriarchal society that European standards have controlled for so long,
right,
have really just made an imbalance. And you spoke of Egypt. Well, dealing with Egypt, which we know as Kemet, when you start dealing with that, these societies, women played a very important role. That's why that's why the principle spirituality was Ma'at, and Ma'at is
that's right,
dealing with balance. You dealing with it. There was nowhere you can go in antiquity when you saw people of color, those of melanated skin, where you never where you didn't see a woman. There always was a woman, because we understand the universal balance of
that's
nature,
right.
spirit, and the whole nine. So you know. So we need you. We need you. We need you. We need you beyond it. And then at the same time, I feel like I'm one of them people in conversations, I have with my constituents. I feel that on so many levels, it's actually going to take black women to help raise black men up. A lot of
Hmm.
times black men, we're looked at as the spine, and we're looked at as the strength. And I agree with that. But a lot of us are really so imbalanced. A lot of us don't understand. There's something lacking, because there's been so many generations of women who wasn't really women. You had a bunch of girls raising boys, and those
Right.
boys became men, and there never was men there to represent men in their presence. So it's like they never really grew up. Their bodies grew up, but mentally and spiritually and consciously, they never really became men. You know what I'm saying? So it's just we need real women to stand up. You know what I'm saying? We need real men to stand up. But at the same time, we need to know what that is, what that looks like, what that represents. And that's where someone like yourself and many other people out there who really stepping into themselves and actually calling on them ancestors and being reincarnated as those ancestors of past. Because I see you as Traci Fant, but you probably Queen Hapsut, or you probably Cleopatra. You never know who you were, just in your demeanor and how you may. I believe that we come back again in so many ways, in so many forms. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
So
definitely.
so it's so many ways to actually kind of outline that and see it. Now, as far as your organization, what made you start that? Because I know you got two. You got the and I may be wrong, but I know just looking at what you represent, I saw the Freedom Fighters Upstate. Am I correct?
Yes.
That's one.
Hmm.
And I've seen something that says twice. What is the thing that's
Yeah.
twice? Think twice or something?
ThinkTwice.org. ThinkTwice.org was it addressed it's the bullying, teen domestic violence, stuff like that. A lot of teenage issues we addressed with that organization. I first started that one because my children were teenagers and
Okay.
there was nothing around here for them to really be directly involved with. So I just said, you know what, I'm gonna create something for them and for their friends and for other kids to be involved. And so it sort of evolved into ThinkTwice.org to encourage young people to think twice, to think before you act, basically. And then Freedom Fighters Upstate. The name Freedom Fighter was derived from Reverend Jesse Jackson, who mentored me, and he would refer to me as Freedom Fighter. And one day we were in a meeting, and I told him, I said, I'm going to create an organization, and I'm going to name it Freedom Fighter. So that's basically how it originated. And I was always, you know, around people who were very, very impactful in the community when I lived in Detroit. Growing up, I grew around leaders and leadership, and I was taught that. And so, it was sort of my natural ability to kind of, I guess, intersect that with everything else I was doing in life without even realizing that that was how I was being molded, if you get what I'm saying.
I do.
Like at a very young age, I met Rosa Parks, Coleman A. Young. I was led under the leadership of Reverend Dr. Benjamin L. Hooks. So many other people who I had the opportunity to sit with and be around at a very young age, growing up in Detroit, not realizing that all their energy was literally being poured into me. So they basically gave me the gift of life after my mom birthed me, and I just carry that with me. My dad, he had been in prison. He was incarcerated before for murder. And I didn't learn that until after my father died. However, I remember everything that he taught us as children when I was growing up, how to be patient, how to think before you speak and think before you act, and carry yourself with kindness and always demand respect. You don't have to like me, but you respect me. Never beg for anything, different things like that. And I realized that even the way he taught us, he was mentored while in prison for a terrible mistake that he made, but he came out a new person. He came out someone who knew how to strategize, someone who knew how to think before he acted, not let his anger or allow his anger to get the best of him, as he did when he committed that terrible crime he committed.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I know that people are able to be rehabilitated, because my father committed his crime of murder before I was born, but I never saw that side of my father. I never saw my father angry or aggravated with my mom. I never saw him act out in a violent rage towards anyone, um, because he learned from his mistake. And not only that, he made sure that he taught us to be better people. And in the meantime and in between time, he taught us how to be leaders as well. So
That's awesome, man. I mean, kudos and salute to your father for actually being rehabilitated, because unfortunately, so many of our brothers and our black men, they don't actually they don't really
right.
be rehabilitated in the current penitentiary state now. Most of these brothers, it's really it's like a revolving door recidivism. They
Hmm.
just out of the situation. So I salute them for turning his life around and then becoming a great role model for you and your siblings, and a great husband for your mom. That's awesome. Very often.
Well, he wasn't. So he wasn't. He and my mom weren't married.
Okay.
But unlike a lot of my friends that I grew up around, my dad was very active in my life. You
Awesome.
know, although he and my mom had split up when I was very young, he made sure that he stayed in our lives and stayed involved, very involved.
Gotcha.
Um, you know, so yeah, they weren't married, but I was fortunate enough to have a father, you know, as compared to a lot of my friends who didn't. So.
Yeah, Greenville, South Carolina, like I've told you on the phone, yeah, you know, I've run through there a little bit. I used to run through there. I used to run through easily every now and then, and just from what I
Mm-hmm.
saw, because I'm from Miami originally. I'm from Miami, so I moved here to the A, and I saw a difference when I moved here versus what the scenery in which I grew up in Miami. But going to Greenville and going to Easley and all that, I saw something even more stark. So I guess my question the racial is the racial division in Greenville more overt than you've seen in other places in other cities?
You good? Right there. I'm sorry. What did you say? Is racial division? What now? I'm trying. My PC about to die, so I'm trying to. You said it's a racial division. What now?
Is it more overt in Greenville versus in other cities, that you might have visited and you might have spoken at?
Let me think. Hmm. It's not. No, I can't really. I've addressed racial injustices more so outside of Greenville than I have here.
Really?
I'll put it like that. Yeah, like in Oconee and Walhalla and Anderson and places like that. I've addressed them more so in those areas, more than I have in Greenville. I would. So, but not saying it doesn't exist here, but you know, just the outskirts are more open. You know what I'm saying? They're openly racist. Travelers Rest, different places like that, where you go there at night, you know, somebody might try to run you off the road. Just different stuff like that. So we don't have that type of energy here in Greenville. You know, the whole racial divide, racial tension. In fact, you know, I'm invited to a lot of tables where the conversation about sorry about that. The conversation about racism and all that, you know, comes up where they actually want to openly discuss racism and ways to address it and inclusion and all that versus other areas where the conversation is literally just started last year. In Greenville, the conversation has sort of been, you know, milling around in different arenas for a minute. You know, now 2020 literally brought everything out, but yeah, I've literally addressed a lot of racism in other areas, if that's what you mean.
Yeah,
And,
I
you,
got
and
it.
I keep hearing it's like you popping or something. Is that you or me?
Now I hear it on my end as well. You hear it's like a static pop. You hear it too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear
Hmm.
it too. It's been like going on forever. I'm wondering what that is. That's why I got up and moved. That's why I'm in another part of the house. That's why it's darker. And now it just
Yeah.
stopped. You hear it? But it's like it comes and goes. I don't know. It's probably the internet, or they're probably listening to us. Who knows?
Right.
I don't put nothing past the powers. Well, I ain't gonna say I won't even call them the powers that be. They just say I don't put
Right.
nothing past them. You know what I'm saying? So,
Mhm.
but it's interesting you say that as far as Greenville kind of being not as overt. One of the things that struck me coming to Greenville and Easley and places like that was the level of miscegenation.
Mhm.
Like I was like, wow, I've never seen it like this. I noticed there's a lot of miscegenation, and then that miscegenation to me, like I'm not really a big fan of that. I'm gonna be keeping 100
Mhm.
with you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I seen it so much there, especially amongst like the brothers and that aspect. You know what I'm saying? I was like, wow, this is interesting. So for me, where I'm from and what I represent, it was kind of like a time warp for me. Like, what's really happening here? So it's like
Right.
that's what really made me say, like, damn, I wonder how is the racial environment or just the social environment there. But you just explained that, everybody kind of like a melting pot. Now with that,
So
I mean,
I mean, sort of. Okay, so
I'm gonna move again.
It,
I'm gonna move again. See if I could quell that pop and see if it's me. All
okay.
right, go ahead, talk. Keep going. Keep talking.
Um, I mean, I would like to say that it has the imagery of a melting pot. You know what I'm saying? More so, but like here in Greenville, say like a lot of African Americans don't go downtown. I don't know why. You know, I've never really asked why, but a lot of African Americans say they don't feel like they belong downtown. And so I don't know where that energy comes from because that's not my thought process. I feel like anywhere I go, I belong there. I'm going to go
Right.
anywhere I want to go. But
Right.
that's just Detroit. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of things that people may pay attention to, I really don't unless it's like, oh, snap, that was racist, you know?
Right.
But I haven't really ran into that in Greenville. Like I said, you know, when I've traveled, when I went to other areas, Walhalla, for instance, I've been there before. You know, it was like some very open and obvious racism there. Ivor, South Carolina, very open and obvious racism there. You know, the smaller towns have a lot of, you know, racism or racist energy. I put it like that. So even
Right.
if it's not direct racism, you might walk into a convenience store and you be like, oh, okay, I know what this is. Let me hurry up and get my stuff and get on out. I don't get that in Greenville, you know? So I'm not saying that it doesn't exist here, but the energy is just different
Yeah.
when it comes to that.
I got you. I got you. I understand. I understand. I can see that. You know, but people
Yeah,
seem to be pretty nice. And I guess it also lends me to the question. And I'm sorry if I'm a little dark, but it seems like the reception is better in this space. So
yeah.
I'm returning back to my black ether.
Okay.
So, but I guess it lends me to it kind of segues me into the question where I saw where you had the it was like a news interview. You was talking about, I think it was Tanner Big Orange or something. The guy was
Right.
apologizing, Mr.
Uh-huh.
Zephyr or somebody like that.
Right.
And,
Hmm.
what did you really take from that? Did you find sincerity in his apology?
You know, I'm not. So actually, after, you know, so me and a group of others, about 10 others, kind of met with him. And we
Mm-hmm.
had some very open conversations, some very open dialogue about racism and about why his statements bothered us or hurt us so much and different things like that. In those moments, he seemed very um, genuine with his apology. But he also seemed like he may have been dealing with some other mental illness issues as well. You know what I'm saying? Um, And so I was just thinking to myself, like, I don't know if it was anxiety, I don't know what it was, but my whole thought is, and the way my dad taught me was, and the way I've been taught is, I can only speak to you from my heart and tell you where my heart is coming from, where I'm coming from the heart. But my mission is not to change your heart. You know what I'm saying? So whether he was sincere or not, I had literally just said, you know what? Some things are like beating a dead horse. You know, some things are not hard for you to understand or to comprehend. And so whether you choose to accept the fact that the statement that you made was viewed as racist, or you think that we were going over the top with it, I couldn't continue to allow that to take me away from other things that were going on. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed.
Like it was kind of like a game of kind of like, you know, back and forth. It was like a lot. It was just too much energy going into that one situation. And so me and my family made the conscious decision that we were no longer going to patronize his business. You know what I'm saying? Because I saw a lot, even with the people who worked at the establishment, where a lot of African Americans worked there, and they've been working there for 20, 30 years. And so when we have the conversation about our community being disenfranchised, my question is, what does that look like? Well, disenfranchised to me, can also be people working at establishment for 30 years with no 401k and no savings, no
That's
medical
wild.
insurance, no dental insurance, no life insurance, no management training, no raises, no promotions. And so when we had the conversation with him, when we went to the table with him, we went with a list of demands. Well, first we went with a list of questions, like, do you have medical insurance and dental insurance for your employees? Do you have 401k? Have you ever contributed to the community center that's directly behind your establishment where those people catered to your business all these years? Different things like that. The answer is no, no, no. So then we say, okay, well, this is our list of demands for our people who have been disenfranchised, who have been basically working, as far as I saw it, in slavery or domestic servitude. This needs to be fixed, you know? So it began, it literally put us in another thought process, not only with that business, but how many other businesses in this community have African American, poor white people, or Hispanic people working there for little to nothing, with no savings plan, no insurance, no. You understand? You get where I'm coming from?
Oh, I get exactly where you're coming from.
So it kind of made me drive away from that narrative and say, okay, let's look at this. Let's look at the bigger picture. This is one
Exactly.
establishment whose employees are basically, like I said, working in servitude. But how many others around this establishment are doing the same thing?
Exactly.
Because that's a question that the community as a whole needs to look at. We need to address that issue. You know, you're gonna be racist if you choose to not like me because I'm black. That's what you're gonna be anyway, regardless. That's a generational curse your family need to break. I'm trying to break generational curses, like our family's thinking that it's okay to work at a restaurant, get paid $6.50 an hour with no insurance. That's the kind of stuff we need to break.
Immediately, I feel you on that. And it's
You
interesting
know,
that you said that. It's interesting you said that he possibly could have had like a mental illness.
yeah,
you know,
yeah, I think so.
as serious as I am, I'm kind of fooled with it as well. And immediately my mind said, based on their footprint in history, haven't they shown you that they have a mental illness?
That's what I'm saying. Right,
You know what I'm saying?
right,
Based on historical facts.
right,
You know what I'm saying?
right, right.
A case of mental history has been the case. So it's like
Exactly.
there's no healing and there's no rehabilitating and there's
That's
no
what I'm saying.
therapy or
Right.
rehabbing. You know what I'm saying?
So I would have wrecked my brain trying to figure out, is he sincere or not? That
Exactly.
that ain't
Exactly.
my fight.
Cause
If,
I
if,
and I
if
asked and I asked that because I was watching his motions and I was watching because when he was talking and I saw when they would ask him, it's like in his mind he was everywhere. He could barely focus. His eyes, I watch
I'm
people's
telling
eyes
you,
and the whole nine. And
right.
I was like, there's no real sincerity in this man. This man just trying to save face and basically trying to save his business at the
No,
end of the day.
I think it was deeper though.
Okay,
I think it
elaborate,
was deeper.
elaborate.
Like I said, I think it was mental illness as well.
Okay,
I think he had a lot of, you know what I'm saying, things that it went on in his. I don't know. I don't know.
or maybe
I just
let's give way to real conscious change. Maybe it was a case of mental illness. Now we finna speak on an intangible. Maybe he's part of a generational curse illness, and that truth that was brought to him was really breaking barriers within
that's
him.
what
Or
I'm
we
saying.
walk, you know what I'm saying? We watch
He had
somebody
never
in
he had
front.
never he had never been confronted with the kind of questions that we were
Right,
asking. He had never
right.
been confronted with our truth, with our feelings. You see what I'm saying? And that was a lot. That was an overload. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So maybe he was like damn, like all this time when I thought I had it right or good, or when I thought I was just getting by, these educated black folks coming to the table like, hey, we about to check you on this, all right? Because my thing is like I said, when I start looking at the big scheme of things, I'm like, we can boycott you, but you ain't gonna suffer because you still getting money. But them people in the kitchen that ain't getting paid every hour, they gonna suffer.
Right. Exactly.
They gonna go home every night. That's why I was like, man, I'm not gonna be responsible for a child going to bed hungry at night.
Right.
That ain't what this is supposed to be. If we're gonna do this type of thing, we have to make sure that first of all, within the African American community, we have savings set up so when we decide to boycott an establishment and shut it down, the employees don't suffer. Because if the employees suffering, if they look like me, I'm messing up people in my own community. I'm setting them back as well. You know, this man right here, he already established that he owned the land and the building. That had already been established. He had cut the hours of his employees, but he was still coming there every day selling hot dogs. You feel me?
Right.
So who was really losing? Like, who was really losing?
What kind of
And then
establishment did he have? What is it? I'm not from the.
it's just a restaurant.
Oh, okay.
It's just a restaurant, fast food restaurant.
Okay.
And then it's like people were saying, well, those people can get other jobs, but how do we know that? We don't know that those people can get up. We don't know if they have a GED or high school diploma. We don't know if they had addiction. We don't know if they had past felonies. We don't know if they had transportation issues. We don't know what the situation was. And so we have to dig deeper into that. We can't make decisions for other adults and say, hey, go apply this job right here. This is a better situation for you, because we don't know what situation they come from.
Right.
For all we know, that $7 an hour was a better situation for them. I mean, you working somewhere 30 years, I don't know.
Spoken like a real leader.
Yeah, I'm trying, you know.
That's real though. And those things we have to take into account when we're dealing with emotions and allowing our energy to be emotion, because you have to still have a sense of reason, and you have to really think from a place of logic, even when the emotions are flaring and everything is, kind of chaotic at that time. And in the climate of America for the past few years, but definitely for the past, I would say 10 to 7 years, has been very intense with police brutality, and so many things are now just being unearthed as far as racism on a whole nother level. And it's hard not to become emotionally stirred. It's hard not to become very inflamed and flared up from a temper standpoint. And but that's the time when we need to practice peace. That's the time when we need to go within and we need to practice stillness and allow that same energy that we will use outwardly to actually project itself inwardly. That really transform us and take us to a next level, to now where we become the teachers and we become the gods and the goddesses that we really are. Because if we keep operating on that same emotional plane that they're on, that's just a savage and a bestial plane. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So we have to really transcend beyond that and stay on the plane to where that doesn't even matter to us. That doesn't even, because all emotions, that's all part of the human experience. If we operate from a spiritual place, that don't even exist.
Exactly.
So it's all about transcending that. So it's just
exactly.
So that's deep, because that's their plane. And if we continuously play on that field in their plane, then we're constantly going to be really in the bleachers or on the sidelines, because they the coaches and they call them the plays on it. And so we got to just really feel it, man.
And that's how they turn us against each other so quick. Because we're already overcome with emotion from everything that's going on around us.
Right, exactly.
And then that's how emotion allows people to play you against the other person.
That's true.
And I learned that very early on, to remove emotion from it as much as possible, and just try to, like you said, just try to feel it on a spiritual level. Try to pick up some different type of energy and think on an intellectual level,
real.
and also try to see through what the enemy is trying to lead me to. Because sometimes the enemy can disguise themselves as somebody who's trying to help you or trying to assist you. But I learned very early on, there's a Judas in every camp, And so at times, even during those times when we as leaders were showing them that we disagree, we shouldn't have even done that. We should have disagreed behind closed doors and said, okay, that's the way you feel about this. This is the way I feel about this. Let's agree to disagree. and let's move forward with the plan at hand, with the goal. The focus always has to be on the goal, each and every time.
You said a mouthful right there, my sister, because I look at that one aspect you just said about disagreeing in private, but always agreeing in public for the common goal, the main goal. I look at that like I look at that even in a relationship. I feel like in a relationship, if what me and my wife got going on, me and my queen got, when you see us, you see solidarity. You see one force, one unit moving. There's no division there. She's not vying against me, and I'm not vying against her. Now, if in any situation, I don't care what she's in, she's right. What I'm in, I'm right. Now, even if she agree with me, handle that in private and be like, okay, baby, I really ain't agree with you about that, such and such. So, but okay, baby, I feel you. Thank you. It's a way you handle things, and that's how we got to me approach our organizations, because we actually we be on platforms, major scenes and platforms disagreeing, and to me the open enemy is looking at it like these folk can't even get it together amongst themselves.
Exactly.
You don't really see them vying against each other, and I'm pretty sure it takes place, but it takes place in secrecy, and they sequester that type of stuff. It takes place in a whole nother place, but when you see them on the forefront, like case in point, we ran out to the polls and put Biden in there to get another one of their people out of there. But you think really they not really conversing in the dark? You really think they're not having serious? You really think they're not chopping it up and having steaks together? Come on, it's like we really be bamboozled by this whole situation. Like,
I'm telling you,
these people cool as hell. You know what I'm saying?
They cool as hell.
They giving you the impression in order to stir your emotions, and people they ran emotionally to the polls to get someone out, only to put someone else in who's going to continue an agenda that in time we're going to see probably wasn't even efficacious for us in the long run. So it's just it is what it is. So just my fact, just my 5 cents.
I mean, you're right though. They play on our emotions. And especially at a time such as this, when the past 4 years have been rough, but 2020 was a super rough year. I mean, it was a terrible year for a lot of people. A lot of people lost businesses, they lost money, marriages broke up, all kind of stuff. And so, of course, like I said, they play on emotions. I'm gonna give you a check. Vote for me, and I'll set you free. Vote for me, and that's all we kept hearing. When in essence, there is. I mean, is it really freedom? Are we really going to get what we showed up to the polls for? That's to be seen. My thing is this: instead of us always saying, "What is this person doing for us?" What are we doing for each other? As a matter of fact, what are we doing for ourselves? Like I don't look to a politician to supply food in my house. I don't do that, because if I did, I'd be starving. We got to get in our mind that, regardless of what's going on in Washington or what's going on a local level, we're going to get it out the mud regardless, because we've been getting it out the mud anyway. And we just got to keep that mindset. We have to be the community that truly supports each other without agenda. Just support each other, no agenda. My brother, you selling a shirt, it's $25 here. Let me give you 30. Let me give you a $5 tip with that. Let's be those types of people. Instead of looking at that and being like, oh, he's selling a shirt. Well, it's 100% cotton, so it's gonna shrink. And he's trying to charge 25 for it, knowing it's only 15. You know what I'm saying? Let's get out of that mindset. Let's really cater to each other and help each other and bring each other up. Because at the end of the day, we all we got anyway.
I totally agree. As an artist, as a hip hop artist, because I'm a recording artist as well, and that's one of the things that I've always sold merch. I've always sold music. And you'd be amazed how, trying to get your people to support you. Everybody, people may love what you do, but it's like, okay, if you love what I do and you really like what I'm doing, show that love by supporting what I do. And that support is not just like, oh man, that song sounds good, I like that. No, that support is like, man, are you selling that? Can I purchase that material? Can I purchase that shirt from you? Because at the end of the day, this ain't free to make. You know what I'm saying? These songs ain't free, but that's a whole nother conversation. But I agree with you on it. That's something that, it was a bitter moment. It was a bittersweet, topic for me at one time in my life. Because I was like, damn, our people really don't support each other. And I've had, numerous businesses, just trying to, actually do for us. And I'm a real firm believer in black owned, and not only black owned, but black support. But our people really don't support each other the way we need to. And, and that lends itself even down to organizations like yours, and even the one that we're in, our organization, the New Order. A lot of people, they might support from afar, but not too many people got the impudence or the testicular fortitude to become part of it, or to actually be on the front lines with us when we're doing this stuff. So it's interesting, man. I don't know, man. I just think that sometimes progression and assimilation on so many levels has really weakened us. It has frayed our own ability to actually to come together and form a unifying front and actually exhibit solidarity with each other, undauntedly, because before we can ever come, you know what I'm saying? Because it seems like every time before we can even come together, there's always an argument or some type of opposition of opinions. Everyone is going to have an opinion. Can we put that aside for the common goal, for the main agenda at hand? Yeah, as you spoke of earlier, and that's the part. That's what even kind of like disappointed me a lot with the conscious community. Because seeing the conscious community, which I've been, just kind of like, being involved with for years and watching it grow, but also watching it kind of implode from within, because it's like the more information attained, the more divided we become, because everyone feels they know. You know what I'm saying? Everyone got the best information, or everyone God is the best. You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on, man. There's no truth. There are just truths, plural. You know what I'm saying? I can't, there's no truth. That's your truth, and then we all put that together to get an ultimate truth. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting, man. I don't even want to get on that. So, but I'm enjoying this conversation with you, man. Like I told you yesterday when we spoke, I could tell just talking to you that, because usually when I bring people on, I like to have my questions already at hand written, and have it all. But I didn't want to do it with you. I just kind of wanted to converse with you and kind of freestyle and freelance with you. And like I said,
I appreciate it.
Just talking with you. And then you done took me in your home. You lounging on your couch, chilling.
Yeah. Right.
You relaxing.
So I like this though.
For real?
Yeah.
What
were you saying?
I was about to say, with all that being said, let's get down to the softer side of you. How is it being a mother?
Wow, it's awesome. I've been a mother for a long time. I'm a grandmother now, so that's even better.
Oh, wow.
I kind of wish I had I would have loved to have my grandkids before my kids, but that kind of thing don't happen. But yeah, I'm a grandmother now, and I have some awesome little grandkids. So that's great. Yeah, life is really good. To be honest with you, I've got to a point where I literally have began to focus on peace and protecting my peace, and only allowing people who bring positive energy and positive vibes around me. And that's because I deal with so much in the community on a daily basis that I don't want to deal with death and destruction outside and then come home to death and destruction. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed.
Or have a phone call with a friend who's always complaining about something, who's always emotional. I had to cut all that stuff out because I realized that was interfering with my being. And it's a trip that when I started going to the prisons and mentoring, I learned a lot from the inmates. They learned from me, of course, but I also learned a lot from them. And one of the things that I learned from one of the brothers there was he always focused on protecting his peace. Protecting his peace and meditating and bringing in positive energy, and even reading and getting outside those walls. And one thing he said to me one time, we were having a class, he said, one thing that he's learned is that there are people out here in the community that's in a bigger prison than what he's in, because the prison is a mindset. And so, I kind of had to get in my mental that I'm going to every day focus on freeing myself from a lot of the negative that's going on, even if it's logging out of social media, not watching the news, not being on the news. A lot of people think that, I love to be in front of the camera, the news camera. I really don't. You can ask any news reporter, they'll tell you that I turn down more interviews than I take. The news interviews are only 2.5 to 3 minutes, And if I'm assisting a family, I'm like, give that family that time. Give them that 3 minutes. I don't need to be on every channel. You know what I'm saying? People know what it is when they see me coming. But it's just like I said, protecting my peace and my energy and just doing the right thing for my family first. You know, of course, putting God first, but also always my husband and my family second. You know, and just rolling with it like that. It's really helped me a lot.
Man, that's very awesome. And I could feel you on that because prior to COVID, one of the things I was doing every week was going to it was a shelter that I would go to, and it was like kind of like a transition shelter. I won't even call it a halfway house. It was just like brothers who were homeless or on the street had nowhere to go. They could go to the
Right.
shelter, and it was cots in the bed or whatnot. So I would go there weekly. I would go there. I would go there and kind of just mentor to them brothers and talk to them. And I didn't know what to really expect when I first started. I didn't. That was my first time really kind of engaging in something like that. But it
Right.
grew to be very beneficial because not only was I able to impart a sense of wisdom, but I gained more than I actually gave. And them brothers
Oh yeah.
listening to their stories, listening to their lives and their circumstances, you realize how paltry yours is, and you realize
Right.
how finite yours is in the scheme of the bigger grand of things. You know what I'm saying? Like wow, and then you hearing these stories and you hearing so many dynamics and dimensions from that what may have put a person in that situation, and then you
Right.
also see the propensity, you see the nearness or the propinquity of how close you can be in that same situation,
That's
especially if
right.
you live in check to check. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So
That's right.
it was very eye opening, and it was very enlightening at the same time. I became very close with a lot of them dudes, and some of those who transitioned to do well, end up getting on their feet and getting homes or getting an apartment or a room, a house. It was a bittersweet moment to see them leave because you become friends with these individuals, but you want to
Oh
see
yeah,
them, you
definitely.
want to see them go on and go and grow and be able to sustain themselves. But at the same time, you know, it's that selfish need to always want to be able to see that person and transfer
Right.
energy to that person. So, and so I miss that. I must say, you made me think about that when you mentioned going into prisons. And we also, our organization, we would go into prison. I think it was like once a month that Gerald and them would go
So,
in the mission or whatnot. So I think that's very
oh
important,
yeah.
because it's humbling
Oh
at
yeah.
the same time. Very humbling.
It really
Very,
is.
it
And
really is.
it gives you a broader view and a better perspective. You know, a lot of people ask me, like, how does it feel to go into a prison or to mentor inmates? I'm like, they're just like us. They just got on orange jumpsuits. That's
Yeah,
the only
exactly.
difference. They're
Exactly.
humans just like we are. You know, they made a mistake. They got caught. Some people do some of the same stuff, just got lucky enough to not get caught,
Yeah, that's
you
real.
know? And
That's real.
so, it's like, I never look at them as, oh my, let me go mentor this poor man or this poor lady. And I don't do that. I just go in and with an open mind and know that, I'm going to pour into them. And I already know that they're going to pour into me as well,
That's right.
so,
That's
but
right.
it's a very humbling experience though.
That's right. That reciprocity is paramount. I mean, because
Hmm.
I would leave out of there. I would leave out of there so full. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
You thinking that at first I thought I'd be like drink, but I would leave out of there like full. Like wow, I was up. This hour went by so fast. I got so much more I want to do, but
Right.
just
Right.
go to the next week or whatnot. So it was pretty cool, man. Really good. Really good. It imbued me with a lot. I must say that. I must say that.
Oh
Definitely.
yeah.
Well, we actually kind of at the end of our hour, and it kind of went by fast just talking to you. Um,
Right.
Anything that you might want to share with the viewers and the listeners, as well as your own, your own thing
Um.
that you're looking on.
No, I mean, just I appreciate being a part of your show. I appreciate the invite. It was great experience, and I look forward to being on again with you, and hopefully, putting more out there about what Freedom Fighters is doing, but also, just sharing with you as we just did. I mean, I thought it was I think it's really great what you're doing, and I appreciate it.
I think the same, and I definitely want to build with your listeners. I enjoy speaking with you. I like what you're doing, and I want to actually keep my finger on the pulse of what all got going on. And as far as chapters, are you all actually spreading? Are you opening any chapters in other cities or whatnot?
Yeah, so actually 2020 was the big chapter thing, but we had to, of course, because of COVID, you know, we weren't really able to get out there. So my hope is that this year we're really able to get out and establish some chapters in different areas. A lot of people reach out to me from across the country, wanting to know how they can join or how they can, commit to Freedom Fighters. And so, that's definitely going to be a move. Because of COVID, I just don't know when. And so right now, I'm definitely in the planning phases of it, reaching out to people. I get a lot of emails from people who just want to get involved, and I'm so thankful for them. And I'm so thankful for the community right here in upstate South Carolina and throughout the state who support us. And, I'm just looking forward to one day really being that national level activist that I know God has molded me to be.
Man, and the reception has gotten so bad. I could barely hear anything you said. So I guess that's our cue, huh?
Right.
But look, definitely, I would definitely want to say to all my people, and I'm saying definitely, my sister always get on me and she say it's definitely. I say, girl, I'm black. We say definitely. But I would definitely want my people to really, really check you out. And for those viewers and those listeners who are actually tuned in right now, feel free to check out my sister Traci Fant. Give them a site or give them some social media or whatever platform they can. And communication, they can get in contact with you, Traci. Really check out what your organization is doing.
Okay, they can look me up for Freedom Fighters Upstate South Carolina on Facebook. Either follow me on Facebook or send me a friend request at Traci Fant. They can also email me, tracifant3@gmail.com.
I believe you have a filter turned on. The video